Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nadya's Entrepreneurial Corner. Yet again, I have an amazing guest, of course, because that's what I do, bring in phenomenal people to talk to about their entrepreneurial journeys. Today, I have Jake Kelfer of Big Idea to Bestseller. Welcome to the show, Jake. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Nadya. This is going to be a great combo.
Of course. So today we really want to explore, what it looks like to empower oneself through the act of publication and what that looks like, all of the different trajectories to doing so. But before we dig in, I would love to give you the floor, Jake. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you even got into this world to begin with.
Well, I'll tell you this. My journey did not begin thinking I was going to be a book coach and publishing company. Okay. I began my career working for the Los Angeles Lakers right out of college. I'm a sports nut, basketball nut, huge Lakers fan. And that's where I thought my career was going to go. Work for the Lakers. Then I'd become a sports agent, make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, buy a house, buy an island, get married. And then, once I had achieved traditional quote unquote success, then I would be able to write books, give back, be a motivational speaker. But I quickly realized that life doesn't always go according to the plan we set. And so I was working with the Lakers, and it was Kobe Bryant's final NBA season. And I was just wildly impacted by Kobe's life and his story and like how much he inspired the world. People would fly from all over the world to watch one final game that he was going to play. And I was like, you know what? How do I make that type of impact on somebody right now? And as a 22-year-old turning 23, bottom of the totem pole employee, like I didn't know much, right? But what I did know was how I got my job. What I did know was how to help my fraternity brothers and my younger brother get internships and do better. And so I was like, you know what? I'm writing the book right now. And so I ended up writing my first book at 23 years old. And when Kobe retired, I retired and I launched this book. And
what was the book about?
The book was about how do you as a millennial stand out in the job market and discover your passion. So I combined what little experience I had with the credibility of people who were very traditionally successful, professors, founders, NFL athletes, Apple employees, people that were in wealth management. And so I tied in their credibility alongside my tips and tricks that have worked for me so that the next generation would be able to have success in their career. And so once I did that, I was like, holy shit, everything kind of just changed, And so fast forward a little bit, that book becomes an Amazon bestseller. I'm now speaking at colleges across the country. My book's in college syllabus across the country. And I'm like, this is incredible. But I still wanted to work in sports. And so I ended up building this major event for the NBA called the PBC, the Professional Basketball Combine. And the idea there was to help NBA draft hopefuls get a chance to sign their first pro contract to turn their dream into their reality. So as I'm doing that, we end up helping 70 guys over 3 years. And it's just amazing. Now the total lifetime value of those contracts, we had a first round draft pick. We had people on TV. They now resulted in $250 million plus in lifetime contracts. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is amazing. So I wrote my second book called Elevate Your Network. And then the pandemic happens and I write my third book, The Elevated Entrepreneur. And I'm like constantly finding ways to use books to break into new industries or to use books to share stories or to use books to teach people something. And then at the top of 2022, we decided, you know what, we're shutting down everything we're doing. Too many people are asking me, how do you write these books and how are you using a book to grow your business and help a lot of people? And the top of 2022, Big Idea to Bestseller was born. That's been our business ever since. And now we specialize in helping entrepreneurs write, publish, and launch nonfiction books to grow their business and make an impact.
Amazing. So let's cycle back a little bit to when you were writing your first book, because obviously you were just like really inspired to tell this story and to impact people, because you had found some like success doing what you were doing. But what was your process to like sitting down and making this happen?
I wish I could say I knew what the heck I was doing at the time, but I truthfully, I didn't. And so I spent thousands of hours Googling how to write a book, how to be a best-selling author, how to market your book. Do you need an editor? Do you need this? How long should a book? I Googled everything and I spent so much time trying to figure it out. But the other thing was I had to do this on a budget. I was an assistant in my first job working for a sports team, which traditionally didn't pay me a ton of money out of school. I moved back home with my parents so I could save money and invest it in a few different areas. But the way that I was really able to do it was I committed to writing this book because I knew it was going to help somebody. And every day I was living in LA, driving to the Lakers office, and I don't like sitting in traffic. So I would get up at 5:15, and I would drive down the freeway. I'd get to work at about 6:30, but the doors didn't open till 8. And so I would sit in my car. I'd have my laptop. I'd sit in my car for an hour and a half, and I would just type. And so that was how I was able to get the book done and done quickly. And then I started learning things, but I didn't know how to pick a title. I didn't know what color scheme my book should be. I didn't know how many chapters I didn't know any of this stuff. And ultimately, this first book was just about, I have a message. I want to share it. What's the shortest amount of words that I can share it that still gets the message across and will actually help somebody get a job for their future? And that became my process. And now, after writing 4 of my own books, now we have a very clear process on what to do, how to do it, and how to avoid the pitfalls and the limiting beliefs that pop up when you're writing your first book.
What were the top 3 challenges that came up for you in your first book, along maybe moving into your subsequent books that you're now solving for people today?
Well, one of the biggest things that we hear a lot is I don't have time to write my book. Because if you think about how books are framed in society, it's this amazing accomplishment, which is 100% true. But oftentimes people think that they have to go, we think of the poets. We think of people from the olden days that would lock themselves in the cabin in the woods, and they would just come out 6 months later with a grizzly beard and then 2 more years to get their book done. And people think, oh, it's going to take me that. But in reality, and this is what we help people do, is we show you how to write the book in about an hour a day so that you can still raise your family and be present with your family while also still running your business full time. And that's something that we've taken a lot of pride in. And, for example, we had someone, she was a single mom of 2 boys. She was getting her master's and working a full-time job and still wrote her book and launched it within about 7-8 months. So you can absolutely do it. So that's one of the big challenges. One of the challenges that I personally really faced with my first book was the imposter syndrome. Who the heck do I think I am to write this book? Like I was 22, turning 23, writing a book on career development. I had 1 year of work experience. And
I love it.
It was ironic because there was in a lot of ways, like I had no business doing it. The experts in this field had been teaching on this stuff longer than I had been alive. Okay. So like I'm coming in here, but what I teach people and what I had to understand for myself was I don't have to be the world's greatest expert to help somebody get the result. I just have to be a couple steps ahead of them to get them from where they're at now to where they want to go. And if I can do that, I have something special. Right. And it proved to be true with that book because then I was speaking to people older than me, telling them how to get jobs. But it was really all about the fact that I took that chance. So those are 2 really big ones that I would say I'd stress on. And then the third one that comes up a lot is I'm not a good writer. And this was true for me. Okay. Even in my 4th book, Nadya, even in my 4th book, I literally write in the beginning, I am not the best writer in the world, nor do I have plans to be. Because in today's world, you don't have to be the greatest writer to write a great book. It's not called the best written book. It's called the best-selling book, right? And so when you write your book, of course, you got to have it be good. The content's got to be good. But the difference that I'm noticing in today's books, especially for entrepreneurs using books to impact people and grow their business, you got to be conversational and you got to write the book. And we're noticing the books that I like reading the most, the books that other people like reading the most are when they feel that the person's talking directly to them. And that's a different type of writing than it used to be. And so you don't have to be the best writer in the world to write a really, really high quality book. And so those are 3 challenges that I faced and that I see other people facing as well.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because, as I talk to you outside of this podcast, I come from a bit of a writing background. I'm also, the child of 2 now retired professors who grew up in a very academic oriented household. And, I have written and published fiction and poetry. But, you know, I think when you do have like awareness of like, yes, like this is like good fiction, or this is good this or good that, or, you know, this is like how you really flesh out a scene, it definitely makes it in some ways, you know, a little more challenging to sit down and be like, I'm going to write my story to be a business book, because it's like you're thinking about all of these different, you know, writerly devices that you feel like you should employ in order to make it good. Whereas, you know, in your case, you're like, you know what, I just want to sit down and I want to communicate something to my target audience without thinking about all of those different things. And I think we could apply, you know, that to a lot of different, you know, areas of life. Like,